Happy Tuesday, everyone. It's Ron Madison, and tonight we're going to talk about what's possible, or better yet, is it possible? What's that thing that you've given up on? What's that thing that you have looked back on and you've tried to let it go because you're embarrassed or you feel bad that you've not been able to do it? We're going to get into that today. What's up, everybody? This is the Confidence Coaching Clinic live every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Central. We broadcast. This is about you learning to activate your confidence when you need it. Everybody has confidence. Every single one of us have areas that we are more confident in than others, more confident in other people than other people are in those areas. Anybody can be confident when things are going well, when your mojo is working, when your team is achieving. But when all hell breaks loose, when chaos happens, when you take a couple L's, and when everybody's losing their focus and they start to look at you, can you keep yours? Can you activate your confidence when it counts, when the stakes are high, when your neck is on the line? That's what we're going to talk about today. How to activate your confidence in those key moments. Go to romemadison.com or iwantmorenow.com to download your free assets, book, Claim Your Star Power. We're going to be talking about some of that tonight, but also my latest audiobook, Everyday Star Power, the 12-step confidence algorithm. We're here every week on YouTube, live streaming, and we turn that into a podcast. And when we have people tune in, we do live coaching, a difficult decision that you've got to make, a choice that you've been wrestling with. We can help coach you through it. We have a methodology, and we can get into that a little bit later. If you were totally honest with yourself, and you look back on your life, no matter how long you've lived, have you given up on something that you once thought was possible for you? Real talk. This is only you and you talking. Is it career related? Was there a financial goal that you did not hit? A relationship goal that didn't work out? Are you a Dallas Cowboy fan with a broken spirit who stopped believing his team can win a Super Bowl? If you are, you may not be a Dallas Cowboy fan because they always believe. We should have the faith and the confidence of a Dallas Cowboy fan. Now, that's real every year. I digress. Things that you stop believing, obviously not like a Dallas Cowboys fan thinking that they're going to win the Super Bowl. But when you think about what you stopped believing for yourself, what was it? There's generally a reason or whatever. You got too old, you aged out of the opportunity, your window was closed, you were too busy because you didn't know anybody that had done it. So, I mean, where was your template or your path or your blueprint? It's kind of hard to do things like that. But why did you stop believing whatever you believed was possible? Now, I'm a believer, as my favorite book says, All things are possible to he or she who believes in Christ Jesus. The same power that raised him from the grave is in you. More on that in a minute. But the reason I ask you why you stop believing is because when you can't see something in your mind with integrity, if you really can't see yourself doing something with integrity in your mind, you're not going to be able to hold that vision to the point where it creates feelings and emotions in you that will move you towards it, that will create some level of discomfort in you that you move away from where you are and toward where you want to be. You won't be able to create it in real life if you can't hold that image in your mind. But I want to help you grow your confidence that what you once thought was possible, that you may have given up on, is still possible. We are live streaming on YouTube. Hit me in the chat. If you got a question that you got to vacillate on, we can do live coaching on a question. I have a methodology to help anchor yourself when you're in these tough situations so you can think clear and focus on what's most important. But we're talking about tonight, is it still possible? Is it still possible? Whatever it is that you gave up on, is it still possible? And is it possible those things that you are already thinking about doing, but you can't really believe it with integrity, is that possible? I start again with the basics. I believe all things are possible because we're creators. Every single one of us, you are a creator. Come on, man. You can't believe that. You can't believe that just you randomly, like, spontaneously combusted or became crawling out of the slime of an amoeba, and by chance you're alive today. Right? I mean, come on now, right? You don't believe that. You can't just look at your hands. Look at your hands, your fingerprints, right? You have 10 fingerprints that have never existed before in the history of the world, man. You can travel the world, touch a dish, a cup, piece of paper, and your fingerprint can be traced all the way back to you. Why do you think that is? Because you're more than a coincidence. That means your fingerprints are unique because you were meant to make your mark in this world while you live. We are creators. There's something that was not here or was not affected or did not exist when you were born that is meant to be left for other people to remember you, for you to make your mark in this world. We are creators. And I love what Plato said, Greek philosopher Plato. We're going to get a little philosophical today. Check this out. Plato had this theory, but what he said was reality is created in the mind, and we can change our reality by changing our mind. Check this out. So Plato is known for a philosophy known as the theory of forms. You can Google that if you like. But in essence, our reality is not just a result of our conscious subjective thought and interaction with light in this world. But what we experience is a result of our ability to access power beyond our physical world, which transforms and shapes our present human physical world experience. If y'all rocking with me, hit me in the chat. I'm gonna let that marinate for a minute. Plato says that reality is created in the mind, but we can change our reality by changing our mind. Now that's a process, but essentially that means is our minds can repeatedly dream or imagine new possibilities, no matter how far-fetched or unlikely it may be. We know this, that's why they're called dreams. But what he's also saying is if you could stay focused on that initial dream and you continue to see that picture, the universe starts to shape the things around you, align you with every molecule in your body, the energy to bring you to the people, the opportunity, the resources that you need to accomplish that. Casey Kane, thank you for joining in. Casey Kane, We know what time it is. We're talking Plato here, folks. We're getting philosophical. But again, Plato goes on to say that the reason that some don't get that our minds create our reality and we can change our reality by changing our minds. And there's a system that we can use to do that we're going to get to in this book, Claim Your Star Power. IWantMoreNow.com. You can get those. Don't leave this stream, but you can get those now, and we'll talk about this at the end. But the reason Plato goes on to say that people don't get that they can change their reality by changing their mind is because emotions get in the way. Fear, anxiety, disbelief, fear, shame, anger. Some of these things, some of these may be why you dismissed what you once thought was possible. What we're talking about, as we said at the top of the show, is what are those things you look back in your life that you once thought was possible, that you once aspired to do, that you had a dream or a vision of some hope of doing, that you let go? Why did you let it go? Did you assign an event, a meaning, something to it? Why did you let it go? What I want to submit for you to consider, at least, is that it's still possible. If you're able to stick with this dream or this vision, now some of the stuff you was dreaming about, you don't need to be doing no way. But we're talking about things that are really going to impact the kingdom around you. This was born in you as a vision for a reason, because you have the strength, the talents, the ideas, the influence to do it. You. No one else has that vision but you, believe it or not. They may have similar, it may affect a certain amount of people, but no one has the vision that you have. There's a reason for that. You are an N of one in this world. So if you've ever dismissed what once thought was possible, if you're able to stick with that dream, that vision in your mind long enough by saying to yourself, it's possible, that's when your reality of what you envision starts to appear. Now, why is that important to talk about? What's possible? Holly, if you hear that there are almost 2 million people in the United States that are out of work today. People talk about the joblessness rate, and you can go by numbers, but a lot of people don't know that in the United States, the unemployment figures are calculated considering only those people in America that have applied for unemployment benefits in the last 4 weeks. And it does not include people who are beyond 26 weeks, which is the only extent of help that you're going to get from unemployment. So if you're 27 weeks out and longer, you're not calculated in that unemployment figure. There are, again, nearly 2 million people out of work. That doesn't include the people who are underpaid, underperformed. Right. Casey Kane said, I still want to learn how to fly a plane. The planes ain't going nowhere. The airfields ain't going nowhere. I learned of someone, my goodness, my daughter was in a Top Teens of America, I guess, gala, which she won Miss Top Teen, by the way. Awesome job, Marlo. But this young lady is in high school and she wants to be an airline pilot. And she started taking simulated lessons, and she now has it in her mind that it's more than possible that she can do this. Now she's like, this is how I do this. It's a note for us. Is if you want to learn how to fly a plane, it's a time transfer. You're going to need those flight hours. You're going to have to shift your mind and the cells in your body to start thinking, to start believing, start to see yourself in the cockpit flying a plane. So even if it's just going to Dave and Buster's and sitting in one of them toy things, listen, get your body moving in that direction. It's still possible. 2 million people out of work in the United States. 50% of the workforce of those people who are over the age of 50. These are Gen Xers. It's my generation, by the way. When you're over the age of 50, in a recent survey, a recent study from TransUnion creditors, 50% of the workforce of people who are over the age of 50 have experienced at least one involuntary job loss. One in 10 of them regain their previous income level after that career disruption. And it's not a layoff, it's a career disruption, because we understand when you're 50, you have lots of responsibilities. You're generally having kids moving on to college. You're taking care of parents in this season of life. So it is a big responsibility. This is happening. This is happening. Again, I ask you, what is that dream? What's that thing that you gave up on, that you left behind? I want you to consider that it is still possible, whatever that is. Late career disruption for Gen Xers is responsible for 42% of income loss of that demographic, leading to significant financial jeopardy. Is retirement still possible? Is retirement still possible? Is it possible? The reason why we're asking this question is important because millennials also have hit. I mean, millennials been hit with a double whammy. In 2008 is when millennials came into the workforce. They came into a job market that was the Great Recession, the financial collapse. One thing that came out of that, if you remember, if you were alive and participating in the economy back then, the one thing that came out of that was the gig economy. The gig economy, Uber, being freelancer online. That was when the Internet of Things started to rise and create an economy out of part-time work. It's amazing because it enabled entrepreneurialism, but it did put millennials behind with respect to creating wealth because of the inconsistency of the work over the years and the lack of benefits. 10 years later, COVID happens. Over that period of time, the cost of living has skyrocketed, but wages have remained stagnant. Now we have Gen Z who are just starting their careers in the last 10 years, I guess. I've got some nieces and nephews who are Gen Zers, but they came into, being in the midst of a very traumatic world. Gen Z were kids when 9/11 happened. So, I mean, think about that trauma, right? 9/11 happened, and then the war, and then the Great Recession, the economic collapse, and then COVID, and now war as we speak, extreme political conflict. The TransUnion study, the same study, reported that Gen Z is earning $10,000 less than millennials were at the same age. And again, the cost of living is skyrocketing, so they are accumulating debt faster. Now, this is an interesting stat too with Gen Z, is that 45% of them still live with their parents for financial stability. That is no shame. Many cultures do that. And I tell you, I got 2 daughters. I wouldn't mind my daughters living with me to continue to build wealth in their nest egg. That's no shame. But also with Gen Z, the American Psychological Association reports that 46% of Gen Z adults have reported experiencing high stress levels, and most of those stressors have been driven by financial instability. What's the result of all this? Fear, anxiety, disbelief, shame, anger. We were just talking about Plato saying reality is created by the mind. If you have these feelings that constantly arrest your attention, your mind cannot create in the way that you were designed to be a creator. You've got to anchor yourself in the moment to think and see that picture with integrity that it's possible. And let the idea that it's possible grow confidence and excitement and enthusiasm in you. And as you change the channel on your fears and your anxieties, you build more momentum to move towards that thing that's possible until it starts to materialize for you. Start by saying it's possible. That's how you can overcome these anxieties and activate your confidence to move towards a better future, by saying it's possible. Now, here's where we drop the bullshit. How do I know that? So I just talked about the unemployment numbers, the people who are suffering from unemployment. I got firsthand experience. I've been there. And, I believe most people who, again, I'm a Gen Xer, most people have been there in some shape, way, or fashion. But when I was unemployed for nearly a year. The very first time I was unemployed. I did get fired from my first paper route, but I guess technically that ain't unemployment. But during this period of time when I was an adult, I was unemployed. That same year that I was unemployed, my mother had started to spiral with her mental health. She was an empty nester at this time. And unbeknownst to me and my family, my mother started to spiral by not going to work. She lost her income. She lost her health benefits. I mean, she couldn't afford the medications that she needed. And she really spiraled to the point of losing her home. Our family tried to help and rally, but we didn't really have the insight to know that, psychologically she was struggling with being stable and making decisions. During that time, I couldn't find a job. My best friend had passed away 2 years before. And this is where I get a lot of this anchoring of it's possible, because sometimes you have to believe in someone's belief in you until your belief kicks in. And my friend Big Yum was that dude. So he used to say to me, man, if I was you, I'd be modeling or acting or something. Now, I didn't see that for myself, but that's something that he saw. When I did not have a job, no job possibilities, that was my opportunity to take some pictures and see what's going on. I need to make some money. I need to hustle up some money. In that year, 3 months after submitting pictures, I was signed to 3 different agencies, modeling agencies, Atlanta, Chicago, and in Dallas, or in Austin, Texas. It's possible. I worked professionally as a model and an actor. I got a portfolio. I've been in commercials. There's this toilet bowl commercial that ran in Japan for 5 years called INAX. I played a astronaut because NASA was working on water filtration and sanitation systems in China with a company called INAX. And the commercial was about that partnership. You can look that up somewhere. I've got a videotape of it. I was paid residuals for 5 years from that commercial. I had a music television show, the Neo Soul Cafe, the music that gets your head right. I would not have spawned this level of creativity if it wasn't for the struggle of me being unemployed for a year and thinking, how else can I create to generate income for myself? I'm just letting you know it's possible. During that year that I was unemployed, I went to real estate school here in Texas and got licensed. I never wanted to be a real estate agent. I became an investor. I'd already owned a property. Since then, I had flipped and turned at least 2 dozen properties. I just did it as a hobby. I loved real estate as an industry. What do you do with your time? It's possible. So during this time that I was unemployed, didn't have job possibilities. Eventually, the phone stopped ringing because nobody's hiring you, like they stopped calling you. There must be something about you that like people are rejecting, and opportunities go away. They go to somebody else. And eventually, I was introduced to a company that was the first company creating a test for cancer patients to identify what is most or least likely to work for them with respect to chemotherapy. It was called precision medicine. This was an industry that had been birthed at the time because the Human Genome Project had completed the year previously. Many medical schools around the world helped sequence the human genome. It was a project that took 13 years, upwards of $10 billion. Certainly, probably more. At the time, I think it cost $1 million to sequence one genome. But this was the version one of that technology back then. The recruiter believed in me because of the way I've spoken, represented myself. And he said, man, listen, you may not have all the requirements, but I believe the hiring manager might like you. So he shared the job description with me. There was no Google back then, by the way. I had to go online and find dictionaries, search. There was dictionary.com back then, to figure out half the words in the job description because it was dealing with cancer research. You need someone who understood how to navigate a hospital environment, talk to surgeons, and be in surgery. I had none of those qualifications. I had to believe that it was possible that I could do that job when I couldn't even read the job description. It wasn't easy. I didn't have that confidence immediately. But what I had to do is study. I had to actually prepare myself. So I went to Barnes and Nobles, Borders Books, and I copied out of the books because I couldn't buy them. I didn't have a job, man. I did generate income through my hustles. I literally paid my bills through acting and modeling, which is enough to pay my bills and probably not much else. But I literally did that for a year and continued to do that after I became employed. But during this year that I was unemployed, this was my opportunity to get into this industry, precision medicine, that I'm in today. If you see me, I have a DNA, a neon DNA sign in my office. But we're talking back then when I was just thinking, I had to believe that it was even possible that I could get this job when I had none of the experience. The long story short is I did get the job. The gentleman who hired me became my mentor. His name is Pat Coons. He was the vice president of sales and the hiring manager at that time. The salary that job paid me was more than I had made in a calendar year previously. I was able to buy my mother a house. My mother continued to spiral. That's another story, but I was able to stabilize my mother, my family, just by believing that this was possible, that a job description that I couldn't even half read, I could actually do. I had to believe that it was possible. And because I thought it was possible, I had to immediately let go. Well, it's not that I had to, that's just what happens. When you know and you believe it's possible and you start to do the things it takes to believe with integrity to see yourself in the picture doing that thing. See, there's a difference between a dream and a vision. A dream is something that's fleeting, but a vision, I used to think that my vision was the things that I wanted: the car, the house, the accoutrements, the things you accumulate. But that's not vision. Vision is how you see yourself. When you start by saying it's possible, every time you're able to say that, it zeroes in on a clearer picture. I believed that it was possible that I could be working in the genetics and genomics space, having no experience doing that, going to Barnes and Nobles and studying for myself. And 10 years later, the mentor, the vice president of sales who hired me, I hired when I was a vice president of sales. I'm just here to tell you it's possible. Think back to what we were talking about with Plato. We create reality in our minds. My mind was able, I trained my mind to be able to repeatedly dream and imagine those new possibilities, to see myself and what was possible for me in a much larger way. Even though what I thought was possible was pretty far fetched and highly unlikely, I could fight off those feelings of fear, anxiety, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not smart enough. I was able to shake those off by simply staying in that space of it's possible. But I did not do it without a system. I'm not here to give you fluff. So I'm going to read this from my book, Claim Your Star Power. This is an exercise. The way I was able to train my subconscious and materialize in the material world what I thought was possible is because I had a system of discipline that activated my confidence. I was able to see the vision with positive emotion instead of negative energy disconnecting me, my access from, the power and energy beyond this physical world, as Plato talks about, which transformed and shaped my present human experience. You want to know how I did this? How I did it. It's an hour of power exercise, and this is on my book, Claim Your Star Power. Go to iwantmorenow.com. You can get the PDF version of this. This is a thick book. Check this out, man. This is like exercises for you to build your reality. On page 54, it is the hour of power exercise. Whatever it is that you believe, you dream about, you envision, that thing that you're zeroed in about, the thing that you want the most, you need to create some motion. You need to align yourself with the universe so you can get moving and that thing move towards you. This is through the hour of power. This is 15 minutes of thinking, meditating, letting it marinate in your mind. This is conscious activity. And you can do that by driving, when you're driving, thinking and talking about it. Just allow your mind to really run wild with it. Do that on a walk. You can daydream. We have to be productive during the day, but there's a point in the day, man, you should be able to kick back and just dream. So spend time with it. Spend time with it so you can see it and believe it with integrity. 15 minutes. Meditate on that thing. Dream in technicolor detail, IMAX theater, so you can really see it. Check this out. 15 minutes of prayer. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to sit there and pray for 15 minutes. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about there are 24 hours a day. I don't know how many minutes and how many seconds, but 24 hours a day. How many hours of your day do you give to somebody else? You can give 1 hour to yourself. Thinking about your dream, your vision, what you want most to get it into your molecular energy. 15 minutes of meditation, 15 minutes of prayer. That could be 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in lunch, 5 minutes in the afternoon, evening, 5 minutes before you go to bed. Whatever it is the consciously talking to your creator, the one who gives you the ability to create. And how he does that is through our power of conscious thought, accessing that realm beyond our physical world. As Plato was just talking about, this is how we can do that. Prayer, 15 minutes, 5 minute, 5 minute, 5 minutes. Pray on that thing that you want most. 15 minutes of reading and research on what you want most. You know, Earl Nightingale said this. This is an old recording. People just don't know how close they are to being an expert. He says, an expert is someone who, on a given subject, knows more than 90% of the population on a given subject. And how you can get there is if on that given subject, and my area of expertise is precision medicine, leveraging the genome to make healthcare decisions and helping people learn the language and have the confidence to advocate for themselves with their doctors and their family members to get better health outcomes for your longevity, your health. Listen, what is your area of expertise? You know how I got there? I took 15 minutes and I read something every day, at least 5 days a week. How long does it take you to read an article in your field? What is your field? Who do you follow? Now I ain't talking about TikTok and, Instagram, but if they're kicking knowledge and they're an influencer in your field, instead of scrolling with brain rot, at least have a playlist of something that educates you, that will add to your ability to create and expand your kingdom. So 15 minutes of meditation on that thing that matters most. You can do that on the toilet, man. You can get 15 minutes of reading on the toilet. First thing in the morning, boom, knock it out. Talking about reading. 15 minutes of meditation, just thinking and letting your mind imagine the best possible outcome of being in that thing that you want to do. 15 minutes of prayer about it, accessing the supernatural. And you can break that up 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the afternoon, 5 minutes before you go to bed. 15 minutes of reading and research. Use your drive wisely. Is there not a podcast? Is there not a YouTube video? Is there not an audio book? Blink. Love the Blink app. Is there a Blink? Turn your car into a rolling university. And then the last 15 minutes of this hour of power is 15 minutes of physical exercise while focusing on your vision. If you're going to walk your dog, how can you get this in? You can walk your dog, think about that dream, that vision, that thing that you want to accomplish while learning something about it. Come on, somebody. What we're talking about is that thing that you once thought was possible that you gave up on, is it still possible? Yes. For the most part. Now, I don't know your life. I don't know what condition you're in, what you're saying. Man, those are a lot of stipulated, a lot of conditions on this. We understand that. But it's still possible. That's where I have you to start. Go now to iwantmorenow.com. Get your free resources. We were just reading out of Claim Your Star Power, 4 steps to start where you are and achieve superstar success and everyday star power. The 12-step confidence algorithm. You can download that and be listening to it on your device in minutes. Follow me while you're here. Reach up, hit that subscribe button on my YouTube channel so you can get updates when I go live every week. And we will be launching the Confidence Coaching Clinic podcast coming up soon. I'd love to give you the first notice when we're launching our episodes. Keep it locked. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you back here next week.